Welcome back to another session. I hope you were well. In today's session, I want to talk about energy expenditure and its relationship with depression. Now, when I started this series, I began with the physical side of things, and I made reference to the importance of analogies and how the human body is very similar to a car. Um, Energy is generated or created, energy is expended, and that leaves us as humans with either a surplus of energy or a deficit of energy. I made reference to the importance of diet, uh, the lifestyle you lead, and your mitochondria with regards to energy generation. I then made reference to energy delivery to the various parts of the body, the heart, the liver, the kidney, um, and to various other organs that need energy in order to keep you alive. Today, I start something that I think is perhaps connected to those prior sessions with a slight difference. I'm going to be talking about expenditure of energy because this is where we start to connect fatigue, anxiety, depression to how we live. Energy expenditure is something most people understand. We use energy, sometimes we waste energy. Sometimes we are very efficient in how we use energy. I have alluded to the fact that if your body's in a fit state, in a healthy state, if the organs are optimally being supplied with the right type of fuel and oxygen, and are being given the right levels of supplement to ensure that the process of delivery is optimal, then you will use less energy. Now, with regards to energy expenditure, uh, there's something called the immunological aspect to how you expend energy. There'll be others that I will cover, such as the emotional aspects to how we use energy. It's important that I reaffirm something I said in sessions prior. We are spiritual beings. We live in a physical body, and have been gifted with what generally people call an intellect. That intellect allows us to use our intellectual faculties, which, used properly, creates an emotional state and gives us a sense of emotional well-being. Now, our immune system, with regards to energy expenditure, is like our standing army. Think about your body as maybe this great castle, and people are always looking to invade because there's something good about this castle. Something there's food, there's riches, there's peace, there's great views. There's a sense of thriving within the community, and therefore foreigners are looking to invade this army. And maybe this castle has a moat, and the plan they have is to get past the moat, get through the castle gate, sometimes get over the castle walls, and actually take over, feed, nest, reproduce, thrive in our bodies. And therefore, our immune system works as a standing army. At rest, our immune systems should consume little energy because there is no need. It would be the same as the British Army, the British defense system. When we are not in a state of war or alertness, we can deploy a fewer quantity of soldiers to, you might say, military stations across the UK. But whenever we sense that perhaps there is a risk of attack, invasion, we mobilize more people and we send them to where we believe the point of entry or the weakest link locations could be. The immune system works in the same manner. If the immune system is not being invaded, it uses less energy, less resources. So when at rest, the immune system consumes very little energy. The fascinating thing about depression for most people with regards to the physical side is what happens when we are inflamed. When we have inflammation in the body, we have issues with more use of energy as a result of the inflammation. Think about this. We've gone past the season of celebration, the season of getting together, coming together, spending time with loved ones, traveling, hosting other people who have come to see us. And we find actually for most people at the end of this festive seasons, people actually have the flu, which causes them to be bedbound. You have coughs, you're sneezing, and sometimes we even have mucus in our noses. These are signs of inflammation. It means the body's immune system is fighting against something outside. The body's immune system has picked up that there are foreigners trying to come through. Now, this occurs when we have interacted with people. But even when we have not interacted with people directly, the risk of inflammation still remains. Why? Partly because our Western diets, our Western lifestyles, puts us in a position whereby we are automatically, by default, we are in a pro-inflammatory state. This means that we are at a risk of either using too much energy or even causing damage to our bodies, which could lead to other issues. And so what you find is that for most people, understanding, especially if you find you're anxious, some people are anxious about their health, their social capital, social status, work, all of these matters create a scenario in the body that starts to invite invading armies because you're expending too much energy and you become weak. Now, there are mechanisms, which is perhaps the most important part of today's session, is there are mechanisms that we have in place that we can implement to ensure that we're not at risk of having too much energy expenditure by virtue of our immune system. The first is actually your fermenting gut. 90% of all of our immune system has an association with our gut. In many ways, when I refer to the gut, I'm talking about your stomach primarily and your small intestine. Food comes into the body. Most of that food goes through our gut. Now, to keep the microbes in the fermenting gut is something that our lifestyle and the way we eat, the way we live, makes that possible. And if we are inflamed, ensures that that is not possible. The key thing is actually whether you have a leaky gut or what's called an overflowing gut. Now, there's a concept called microbial translocation. And this is where we spill microbes from the gut into the bloodstream. Very, very wrong. Or rather, I shouldn't say wrong because it's not a matter about being right or wrong. It's more a matter of having a negative effect. And most of these occurrences, especially with regards to the spilling of the microbes from your gut into your bloodstream, will certainly pass through your kidneys, no problem. Some of it, unfortunately, will leak into other tissues in the body. Your immune cells will attack as soon as it sees or observes that there's something foreign in the bloodstream or in the body. And that's where inflammation begins. Most people have an allergy and autoimmune issue. Put it more directly, most people in the West, the studies these days suggest that about between 50 and 65, almost 70% of people in the UK have either an allergy or autoimmunity issue. These are simply forms of inflammation. These inflammations occur when our immune system is switched on wrongly or inappropriately. And as a result of that, if you think about, let me go back to the analogy of the UK defence system and the UK military. If we mobilised our troops every week in a manner that suggested that we were being attacked, we send them to the various posts, fully geared, fully provided for, but they arrived there and there was nothing. What you find is actually there's so much energy expended, adrenaline, for some people, the constant release of cortisol throughout the whole day, believing that there's an army coming. If we believed that there was an army coming to attack Great Britain or the United Kingdom, there'll be a heightened sense that defense is necessary, and therefore we send what we'll call our defense system to go and deal with such an issue. If upon arrival, nothing happens, they return back We do it again, nothing happens, they return back. Suddenly you find that the call to pick up your weaponry is no longer as powerful because it's happening too regularly. And every time the people arrive, it's a false call out. And therefore, our immune system develops an ability to ignore or to observe and say, well, do you know what? Let's just the defense. Let's use the technology we have to observe whether there are people coming by sea. Let's use satellites to discover and determine whether people are coming by road. If there are people coming by air, and if there is nothing in the horizon, we stand people down. If there is something coming in the horizon, we stand people up. And so what you find is most people suffer from allergy and autoimmune issues, primarily because we live in a pro-inflammation world. Our lifestyles, the way we choose to live, what we eat, creates the possibility and the environment for autoimmune and allergy-related issues. Again, I said allergy and autoimmunity is a simple form of inflammation. It occurs simply when the immune system is wrongly or inappropriately switched on, sometimes by mistake, sometimes actually happens by, I wouldn't like to use the word choice, because we're not necessarily choosing, but it occurs by cause and effect. It's a result of something we are doing. There are other ways through which this can occur, and that one of them can be maybe out of necessity, by taking vaccinations. The problem with vaccines and vaccinations is it's supposed to alert your immune system to look out for what it should be protecting you against. But like the standing army gets very, very educated, and therefore it doesn't switch on the immune system. So in order for most vaccines to work, it has to have an adjuvant. It has to have something inside that causes the immune system to wake up. Now here is where it gets fascinating, but also very interesting. Such adjuvants have chemicals or substances or compounds, most of which are not really, really safe for the long-term application. Mercury is a good one. Aluminium is another one. And in your bloodstream, that causes your immune system to start overreacting because it's seen something foreign. The problem is with such compounds or substances, they very quickly and easily can turn on your immune system. What they are poor at doing is turning it off, which is supposed to be how, all things remaining equal, they should operate. Now, the reason I actually started today's session with energy expenditure is because if you understand that there is a huge amount of energy being used for your immunological needs, some of which might be necessary, but some of which are not long-standing or will cause more harm in the long run, then if you understand how you can, by carefully asking yourself a question, with regards to my gut, do I have issues with an upper fermenting gut? Do I have a gut that is overspilling? Do I have issues with microbes flowing into my bloodstream? Am I at a risk of autoimmunity and allergy? Is my immune system switched on regularly? As a matter of fact, am I doing things, even sometimes by virtue of advice we receive from medical professionals? The HPV vaccine is one of them, or any other vaccine that causes your body to switch on the alert system by virtue of perhaps a compound, a substance that is in that vaccine that therefore ensures that your immune system is hyperactive, going around looking for the enemy, and unfortunately is not working as it should by that process consuming more energy than you need. You'll find actually that if your immunological demands are too high, you will recognize in a short space of time that you don't have enough energy to meet that need. This is partly why those who suffer from allergy, autoimmunity, and similar issues are generally very tired because there isn't enough energy. All the energy is being used for the standing army. There isn't, think about a war. Fuel, water, food, ammunitions, resources, everything is going towards keeping you alive. There isn't anything else for survival or for just your basic need. So keep that in mind, and I'll bring today's session to a close with that said.